Imagine a man walking into a sword fight, alone, against someone who wants to kill him. His heart should be racing. His hands should be shaking. His mind should be full of fear. But Miyamoto Musashi, Japan's greatest swordsman, walked into over 60 of these fights, and he won every single one. His secret was not the biggest sword. It was not the fastest hands. It was something nobody could see from the outside. His mind was completely clear. No noise, no fear, no chaos, just stillness. And here is the interesting part. Musashi wrote down exactly how he did it. Not just for warriors, but for anyone who feels like their brain is always too busy, too loud, too full. This is what he figured out. Musashi had a favorite way to describe a calm mind. He compared it to a cup of water sitting completely still on a table. When the water is still, you can see straight through it. Everything is clear. Everything makes sense. But now imagine someone shaking that table. The water starts moving. It gets cloudy. You can't see through it anymore. You can't tell what's real and what's just the water moving. That is exactly what a busy, chaotic mind feels like. When your head is full of worry, stress, things you forgot to do, things that made you angry, things you're scared about, your thinking gets foggy, just like that shaken cup of water. You might be sitting in class trying to focus on one problem, but your brain keeps jumping to something that happened at lunch, or a game you want to play later, or something a friend said. That jumping around is the water shaking. And when the water is shaking, it's really hard to think clearly. Musashi noticed this during sword fights. When warriors got scared or nervous, they started making mistakes, not because they forgot their training, but because their mind got too noisy. The noise was the real enemy, not the person in front of them. So his whole life became about one question. How do you keep the water still? Musashi had a name for the calm he was looking for. In Japanese, it was called Munin Masu. It sounds complicated, but the meaning is actually very simple. It means no useless thoughts. Not zero thoughts. That would be impossible. But no thoughts that don't need to be there right now. Think about it this way. When you sit down to do your homework, your brain has one job. But how many other things show up uninvited? You remember a funny video. You start thinking about what you want for dinner. You replay something that happened at school. None of those thoughts are helping you with the homework. They are just guests who walked in without knocking. Musashi's trick was not to fight those thoughts. He knew that the harder you try to push a thought away, the louder it gets. It's like someone saying, don't think about a pink elephant. What do you immediately think about? A pink elephant. Instead, he dealt with the thoughts before they showed up. He kept his life simple. He didn't own many things. He didn't make promises he couldn't keep. He didn't fill his day with things that didn't matter to him, because he knew that a simple outside life leads to a simple inside life. There is something you can try right now that works the same way. When something is bothering you, something you keep thinking about but haven't dealt with, write it down. Just put it on a piece of paper. The moment you write it down, your brain stops holding on to it so tightly. It stops bringing it up every 5 minutes. It trusts that you haven't forgotten because you wrote it down. Your brain is not trying to annoy you when it keeps repeating the same worried thought. It's actually trying to help. It's like a little assistant tapping you on the shoulder saying, hey, don't forget about this. Writing it down tells your brain, I've got it. You can stop reminding me now. And it usually listens. Here is something Musashi did that a lot of people today think is a waste of time. Between his intense training sessions, between his travels, between everything, he would go somewhere quiet and do absolutely nothing. Not sleeping. Not thinking about his next fight. Not planning. Just sitting. Walking in a forest. Watching a river. Existing without any task at all. Most people hear that and think, that's lazy. But it was the opposite. Those quiet times were when his mind did some of its most important work, cleaning itself out, organizing everything it had learned, getting ready for what came next. Your brain actually does the same thing. Scientists have found that when you give your brain nothing to do, no phone, no TV, no talking, nothing, it starts doing a kind of invisible cleaning job. It sorts through the day. It files things away. It connects ideas that didn't seem related before. It recharges. But here's the catch. Scrolling your phone does not count as doing nothing. Watching videos does not count. Those things keep feeding your brain more information when it is trying to clean up the information it already has. Real rest means giving your brain actual silence. Even 10 minutes of this makes a difference. Sit outside. Look at something that isn't a screen. Let your mind wander with no destination. It feels uncomfortable at first because most of us are not used to it. But that discomfort is just the busyness leaving. The stillness comes right after. Near the end of his life, Musashi wrote a book called The Book of Five Rings. In it, he said something that sounds simple, but is actually quite deep. He said that if you truly master one thing, any one thing, you start to understand everything else better too. He wasn't just talking about sword fighting. He was talking about focus itself. The act of going deep into something, of really paying attention to one thing until you understand it fully, that trains your brain in a way that nothing else can. Most of us today do the opposite. We do a little bit of everything. We switch between 10 apps. We start a book and leave it. We watch videos for 5 minutes and move on. We never stay with anything long enough to really get it. And this habit, the habit of always moving on, makes our mind restless. It makes the water shake. You do not need to become a master swordsman, but you can pick one thing, one game, one subject, one hobby, one skill, and spend real time with it. Not just enough time to get started, enough time to get good, enough time that your brain has to actually focus. Because here is what happens when you do that. Your brain learns what it feels like to be fully present with something. And once it knows that feeling, it starts carrying it into other areas of your life. The focus you build in one place slowly spreads to everywhere else. It starts with choosing to stay, with not switching the tab, with finishing the chapter, with playing the same piece of music until you actually get it right. Small choices, but they build something real over time. Go back to that cup of water for a second. The goal is not to glue it to the table so it never moves. That would not be water anymore. That would be concrete. The goal is to stop shaking the table. And most of the shaking comes from choices we make without thinking, filling every quiet moment, leaving too many things unfinished, never resting for real, jumping from one thing to the next before anything gets done. Musashi did not have a calm mind because his life was easy. His life was incredibly hard. He had a calm mind because he practiced the habits that kept it calm every single day for decades. That same practice is available to anyone. You do not need a sword. You do not need to be Japanese. You do not need to be an adult. You just need to let the water settle. If this was helpful, consider subscribing for more. Thank you for watching.